HCG is human chorionic gonadotropin, which is used for fertility or increasing production of hormones. It will increase production of estrogen and progesterone when you take HCG. Taking progesterone will just elevate it some more. It will not have any effect. It does not. Keep it down. It depends on the lab that you use, because each lab will have a different machine that's calibrated to a different number. So you have to be specific about which lab that you're talking about to be able to know which number it is. Okay?
How do you recommend someone testing? I know there's by blood work, and then there's people that are saying saliva testing, and I heard neither of the above, but it's basically experimentation to find out what level of
The question is, do you monitor hormone levels via blood, saliva, or urine? You can do a urine analysis, but it requires a 24-hour collection of urine, which requires that you carry around a urinal for 24 hours, which is a little problematic sometimes. So it's not user-friendly. They're fairly accurate, but unfortunately, you can't do that test. I've tried to do that, and it's difficult to carry around a urinal and urinate and then put that into a big container. Saliva gives relatively good levels of hormones at a baseline, and if you monitor oral hormone use, saliva is a relatively accurate way of doing so. As soon as you start to use transdermals, which we do, then the accuracy dramatically falls off. And the reason is because for some reason or somehow the hormones will hypersecrete into the saliva and give extremely high levels in the saliva, but unfortunately the blood levels with the creams are very low. Testosterone gives very good levels with a cream. The estrogen and progesterone don't give very good levels in the serum with it, but the levels are very high in the saliva. Some people interpret that as, well, it's in the saliva, it's got to be in the tissue. No, if you biopsy, you'll find that it's not. So for transdermal use, I don't recommend the saliva. For the others, you can use saliva. You have to spit in a test tube 4 times a day, which is a little inconvenient. But the gold standard, as per the medical literature, we know how much progesterone you need in your system to downregulate receptor sites in your breast. That's typically 10 to 15 micrograms per deciliter. So since blood is the gold standard, that's what we typically use to make sure that what we're seeing and what we're prescribing and what you're absorbing and metabolizing maintains an adequate level as per the medical literature. It's been tested, tried and true for years. We know what the level should be, we know what the level should not be. Let's use the gold standard, and that's why we typically use blood. You can use the saliva. It's a fairly good correlation until you start to use transdermals. As soon as you do that, use a sublingual progesterone, the levels are sky high, and then you have inaccuracy. So it just depends on what you're trying to measure. But blood is typically the one that we use the most. Yes. It's called erythrocytosis. Testosterone raises red blood cell count in men. The injectables much more so than the transdermals that we prefer to use. But you will see an erythrocytosis, which raises the red blood cell count. Most doctors will interpret that as bad. All the cyclists go up and train at 10,000 feet. Why? To get the blood count up. Is that harmful? No. People that live in Snowbird, people that live in Park City, people that live in Aspen, have high hemoglobins because it's erythrocytosis. It's a physiologic raising of the red blood cells due to decreased oxygen saturation because you live at altitude. That's not harmful at all. In fact, it's very beneficial. But some may interpret that as a polycythemia vera, which is a blood dyscrasia, which is bad. It's not. It's a physiologic erythrocytosis that's actually healthy and beneficial for us. If people that smoke have chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, you don't get as much oxygen diffusion into the bloodstream, so therefore the body naturally makes more hemoglobin to try to get more oxygen in because you're starving for oxygen. That's a physiologic erythrocytosis, which is beneficial to the organism. It's not harmful in any way.